Welcome back. Welcome back to the studio. Just gonna take all this stuff off. But yeah, education, JWs and employment. Have you ever, if you're an ExJW, a lot of ExJWs watch this channel, or even if you're a JW currently, are you an employer? Do you employ people? Well, if you employ people, you'll know what we're talking about here. I was an employer of Jehovah's Witnesses for most of my life. I started when I was 26. Started my own company at 26, and I'm still self-employed, although I don't hire Jehovah's Witnesses. I actually sold all my companies. But in the day when I had my company for 28 years, 30 years. I ran my company. While I was a Jehovah's Witness. So I hired a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, and it was a nightmare. It was really a nightmare. Now it's assembly time right now, and guess what? All the Jehovah's Witnesses will quit their jobs. They will quit their jobs to go to the assembly. If you don't give all the Jehovah's Witnesses the time off, they will quit their jobs. You shut your company down. So hopefully you're not in the service industry like I was. I had to provide 24-hour emergency service. I was a fire alarm repair depot. And we looked after hospitals, nursing homes, and things like that. And if you can imagine, if the bells start ringing, there's a fire alarm and they can't reset it, you have to get your technicians there. And the fire department's there. It's serious stuff. Serious business getting into what we do. And I hired a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I had a lot of problems. So I ended up being the guy on call during all the assemblies. And I would just pick up and go. I'd have to, or else I'd have to close my company down. When I was out of town, I had a company out of town, 3 hours out of town. And same thing, everyone went to the assembly in Edmonton. I had to stay home and wait for them to come back, use some of the techs, and then I'd have to go to another city assembly. Maybe I'd have to drive to Calgary or something. If it was today, I'd have to drive all the way to Medicine Hat just to employ Jehovah's Witnesses. So what they train their people to do in all their Watchtower magazines, they train them to give the employer lots of time notice, give them lots of notice, and they do that, give you lots of notice. But what if you have all Jehovah's Witnesses and they all give their notice for the assembly? And you say, hey, look, guys, let's be reasonable here. And they said, no, we're going to quit. We're just going to quit. You're in a real pickle. So if you're an employer out there and you're contemplating hiring Jehovah's Witnesses, don't even hire them. They will leave you high and dry for their God, the Watchtower. It's the Watchtower. This has nothing to do with the God of the universe or Jesus. Nothing to do with those two. This is to do with the Watchtower, their God, who they call Jehovah. That's what this has to do with. And they worship the Watchtower, which equals Jehovah. Really, the Watchtower is Jehovah. That's really what it is. Because it's through the 9 men in New York that only all of those 8.5 million people can get to Jehovah. You see, they can't get to Jehovah no other way. There's no other organization on earth that you can get to God. Well, Jehovah, their God. Jehovah. You see, the God, Jesus, Father, the Most High, anybody can access that God. But the Watchtower's God, it's only funneled through those 9 men. And those 9 men, I'll tell you what they teach their people about job employment. I was looking on their website here, and what got me going was this video. It's just on their website. It's a new video. I'll put it up on the display here. And we're looking at all these videos. They're all terrible videos. We make videos. All the creators make videos out of them. Now I was looking at this one, beware of trusting in what fails. Now here's how they teach their young people. This is a little 3-minute video. We'll watch part of it.
So, you gonna talk to any career day people?
I don't think so.
Look, I know you got a part-time job lined up and you're gonna pioneer.
Yeah, so
So, the video production people are here. I'm sure they have part-time.
yeah, I still don't know.
Look, Dennis, you're good at it. Besides, they do corporate videos. Nothing bad. Come on, just talk to them.
All right, I'll check it out.
I hear you. Eventually you want to...
Okay. So did you get that? The prelude? The boy drives up to school, trade show, this production company. His other buddy, who's also a Jehovah's Witness, meets him. And he says, I know you're looking for part-time work. You see, folks, Jehovah's Witnesses, right out the gate, they all want part-time work. They all want part-time work. I had a part-time bookkeeper, and I wanted to train her on the computers, get some schooling. So she had to, I was going to pay for it all, everything paid for. All she had to do was travel from this tiny little community about a half hour to a little bigger community, and there was an accountant. My accountant was holding training courses, and this was after the year 2000, after Y2K. You know, we got all our computers set up and we're ready to go. And the computer industry just started to take off. So you want to use computers. I've always used computers for my bookkeeping. And I moved to this community and I hired the elders, the presiding overseer's daughter. Never hire the overseer's daughter. Never hire elders, daughters, or kids. You're going to run into trouble. And I'll show you why in another video here. But to make a long story short, she would not even go to take that training. I couldn't get her into the computer systems. So I had to hire, she went home and her whole thing was higher education. She threw the higher education pitch out just for a bookkeeping upgrade. Can you believe that? So I didn't take that too well, but I had to hire the accountant to come in once a month and train her in person. It cost me a lot of money. And that's how much I put into the JW employees at the time. But now I'm telling everyone out there, if you're an employer and you're looking to hire a Jehovah's Witness, don't. Just simply don't. You're going to run into problems. It'll be your biggest nightmare. And I'm telling you, as a 30-year Jehovah's Witness running a business all those years, and using various Jehovah's Witnesses. I'll tell you about an elder I hired. I hired an elder, a very prominent one, as a salesperson. And he was using his own car, and I agreed to pay all of his gas. And Jehovah's Witnesses use a lot of gas. So he had to all he had to do is hand in his mileage report from his car to my bookkeeper, and sure enough, he started stealing gas. How did they find out? Well, the car couldn't hold the amount of mileage that the car did, couldn't hold the amount of gas that was being pumped into it, apparently. And it turned out, and he lied about it. And it took 3 meetings, and it turned out that on the final meeting, he said, "Yeah, I was filling up my daughter's car." And so, anyways, that's an elder, and that's what they do. They take advantage of other Jehovah's Witnesses that they feel are weaker or whatever. They can take. Obviously, he felt there was a situation. I had to fire him. I fired him over it. I didn't turn him over to his body of elders. I told him to turn himself over. He never did. So it's just proof of who we're dealing with. Now, I want to show you this video. This young man is sitting in front of a potential employer. He wants part-time work, just like all Jehovah's Witnesses want part-time work. But they don't want to put the time into it. And then when they do get work for you full-time, some of these guys will work for you full-time. They did for me. And you put all this training into them. I had to send my guys into the US for training on some of the equipment. And it cost me a lot of money. And you get these guys trained up, and then all of a sudden they can't take a service call on an assembly, on a meeting night, on a memorial night. They won't go to another assembly because they say, well, we got parts in our assembly. They leave you high and dry. They leave you high and dry. And the one guy left us high and dry to a point where I had to sell the company. I had to, like several of them, and I had to get rid of the company. I hired Mormons into the company to run the company for me when all these JWs ran off to their assemblies. You know, they'll steal gas off you, they'll take advantage of you to the ninth degree. That's what I found, personally. Over 30 years hiring, I worked in all over Alberta. I hired lots of Jehovah's Witnesses. And even when I went up north, I brought Jehovah's Witnesses up with me, and it was a disaster. It was a disaster. So here's how they act in an interview.
Work part-time to pursue other passions.
Oh, well, I'd like to start part-time.
It's doable. But after you're established, after a few years of hard work and dedication, you'll be able to pick your own jobs, and you'll even get to set your own schedule.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, thanks so much for your time.
1 second, before you leave, just so you know, here's what you can make in your first year. My advice, try not to get too caught up in the sacrifice. Think about the payback.
Thanks.
So now he's going to think about all the money he's going to make. And how he could get rich, I guess. This is what, remember folks, this is a video that the org put together to make it look like that's what kids think about.
Money.
And what the org does is they make people feel guilty if they have a good job. So this is what's going on here. Going through the guilt trips. He's going to look at JW org, and JW org is going to straighten him up. JW org's the boss. So we'll just watch it here.
Hey, you ready to go?
Yeah, ready.
So, you talk to anybody?
Yeah,
Learn anything good?
I did.
Well, tell me.
Well, there you have it. He looked at JW org, realized that no, he can't take it because it might pay too much money or something. Might time up full time. You see, all these young guys, if we look at JW org, and we can do it, but everywhere on JW org, it tells them to get high school and then part-time work, go pioneering, and then Gilead. This is the Watchtower training philosophy. Now, if you're an elder and you're in the Watchtower and you want to get your kid into a little bit higher education where they can make a bit more money and then maybe pioneer, guess what's going to happen? It's not going to fly good. Here's a video I did a bit ago. I'm going to run this tonight on my Elders book. We're covering this in the Elders book tonight. Monday nights we cover the Elders book. But here it is. This is what happens.
Considering this matter regarding Brother Brown and the impact that his family situation is having on the congregation, I asked you brothers to review his qualifications as an elder. After we spoke, and Brother Brown had an opportunity to explain to me some of the decisions that he's made for his family. I'm aware that you brothers have considered this matter before, but since then, another one of Brother Brown's daughters have enrolled in a school for higher education, which raises questions as to how this affects the congregation. When we make decisions, it's important that we consider the conscience of the congregation as well as the elder body. Brother Brown, I know this can't be easy for you, and it's not easy for us either. Please be assured that we love you, and we only want what's best for you and your family. Remember, you're among friends here.
Okay, so if you're looking at the picture here, you got Brother Brown there, and he's an elder. His daughter wants to go to higher education. They have 3 other elders, and they have a circuit overseer. So they brought the circuit overseer in. This is a training video. It was leaked. Just like we're putting the elders book online. All this stuff goes online. Everything hidden is eventually revealed. But this is higher education. So what ends up happening is they delete Brother Brown as an elder. You can tell it by the handwriting on his face. You know, this is all scripted, of course. This is all production by jw.org. But this is how it is. So I'm going to be reading about this in the elders book tonight. Higher education, and how they actually delete elders because of stuff like this. So this is how the org works. This is how they function. We're going to move on to something else. So I wanted to know a little bit about this. Got me going a little bit this morning because I have so much history with JW people, Jehovah's Witnesses, and work. I could read you scripture after scripture in the Bible, how, you know, about the honeybee and how God says, be like the bee and be a good worker. Every man that works deserves his food. Things like that. The lazy one will not. But you know how many Jehovah's Witnesses, they quit their job and they end up with nothing. They end up with charity jobs. They end up taking the odd janitor job. They quit their job, and that's what they have. You see, they thought the end's going to come any day now, but it hasn't come. And it won't come because you're not supposed to predict the end times, even though they do. You see, as a Jehovah's Witness, we've ignored those scriptures where it says no man knows the time or the day. So why are they even trying to predict it? You see, Jesus says the only thing to really do is love. Love your neighbor. But not at JW.org. If you're an employer, they want you to quit your job for the assembly. So I went into JW.org. I plugged it in right here at the top, quit job for assembly. All this stuff comes up. I quit church, I quit smoking, I quit business. Awake. So let's go to a video. Here's Stephen Lett, Never Let Satan Intimidate You. Let's look at that one together for a bit here. And we'll see what Stephen Lett has to say.
The theme for my discussion is never let Satan intimidate you. To intimidate means to try to get someone to do or not do something by bullying, terrorizing, threatening them. And of course, Satan is a god of intimidation. That's one way he tries to get people to do what he wants. On the other hand, Jehovah always motivates by love. The word intimidate is found twice in the study Bible notes, and the word intimidated is found once in the main text of our Bible, Deuteronomy 1:17, where the judges who were to assist Moses were told, do not be intimidated by men, render impartial judgment. But now, even though these words are not used so much in the Bible, the idea is found many times. As a few examples, think of Goliath, who was 9.5 feet tall, trying to intimidate young David. Remember what he said to him? 1 Samuel chapter 17, he said, just come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the heavens and to the beasts of the field. Just come to me, little boy, and I'll feed your corpse to the buzzards and hyenas. Big time intimidation. Or what about the Rabshakeh in loud, fluent Hebrew trying to intimidate the Jews in the time of Hezekiah? Sanballat and Tobiah trying to ridicule Nehemiah and the Jews for building the wall. Or another example found in today's Watchtower comments, Nebuchadnezzar really tried to intimidate the 3 Hebrews into worshiping an idol. How did he do it? Well, Daniel 3 verse 1 says he erected an immense image, almost 90 feet tall, 9 feet wide. And that was intimidating in itself. But then he assembled, according to verse 2, a huge throng of people, satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, etc., intimidating throng. And then verses 4 through 6, he had it loudly proclaimed, "You are commanded, when you hear the horn, the pipe, the zither, you must fall down and worship this image. And anyone who does not do so immediately will be thrown into the burning fiery furnace." Very intimidating. But those three Hebrews remained unintimidated. But of course, Satan, as we said, tries to still use intimidation today. If you don't take this blood transfusion, you will surely die. If you don't accept this job, talking about a job that'll damage you spiritually, your family will starve.
Okay. So you see how they do it, folks? This guy is the leader, and I'm just going to silence him. I'll let him talk. You can watch him talk. But he's the leader of the Jehovah's Witness, one of the main leaders. There's 9 of them. They call them the faithful slave governing body, but this is the channel. This is the only tree trunk to God. You see, as a Jehovah's Witness, you can't go to God on your own. You can't leave the organization and worship God on your own. They call that apostasy. So you can only worship through these guys. This is their leader. And so he's talking about intimidation. But that's what they do. You see, a narcissist will tell everyone else and point everyone else in all kinds of other directions, but they don't want people looking at what they're doing. So they use huge intimidation when it comes to shunning, just like he mentioned, just like the king of Babylon. They have all the soldiers. Well, these guys have circuit overseers, they have elders, they have ministerial servants, they have Bethel overseers, service desk overseers. They have all these levels of people. They have all their helpers, all their writers and so forth, all these levels within this organization. And it's set up just like the king of Babylon. And they want everyone to bow down and worship them. So he uses this talk about intimidation because he's saying that employers will intimidate you come assembly time. He doesn't get into it here on this particular talk, but this is the talk that comes up when I'm searching, what should I do if I can't get time off to go to the assembly? Should I quit my job? Well, this is one of the talks that their search engine pulls up for you. A real strong talk on intimidation. And if you can imagine, the followers are watching this guy, they worship him. They're going to come to your job site, and they're going to be like little Stephen Letts. And you're gonna say, look, I need you to go to another assembly. I really need you. I can't, maybe you're running a kitchen or something, and it was the busiest time or an events in town, something like that. And you need that person. They're gonna quit on you because you see how they flip it? You become Satan. You see, even if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you hold that person back from going to the assembly, you get talked to by the elders and you get treated like Satan, because Satan is the one that intimidates people to miss spiritual things. You see, that's what Stephen Lett says. That's what Stephen Lett says. Yet they will kick members out that stand up for themselves, that speak out a little bit. They will kick them out. They will shun them. They will intimidate them. They will bully them. And they will never let any of the family members ever talk to them, or they will be shunned themselves. You see, this is a huge organization, just like the king of Babylon, a huge structure. And they've erected a huge structure all over the earth, Watchtower, just like the king of Babylon. And they want everyone bowing down to this structure, the Watchtower. So this is what you're hiring, folks. If you're hiring a Jehovah's Witness, you're hiring someone that is disciplined for higher education. They won't take higher education. If you want to train them and get them to increase their knowledge, they may view it as higher education and may not take the training. Not all do, but lots of them do. The one I gave you my example. And then you got this young fella that we just watched going to get a job. Young guy, really qualified. You'd love to hire him. Maybe you'd throw a 6-figure income at him, not knowing who you're hiring. And he won't even take you up on it, because you do need to train people for 2 years before you can, and that's a fact. I know that as an employer. It takes 2 years, and there's a lot of investment that goes into the employee. And yeah, so I can show you scripture after scripture that says this, what JW.org teaches is wrong. So many levels. But hey, subscribe to our channel, and we'll keep you abreast with the latest in the news. And remember, Monday nights, we'll be going over more of this in the Elders book tonight. Okay, until next time, keep living your life with love. Bye for now.